Guys, back with leg number 3 of my cross-country trip from KJFK to KLX. This time we're in KPIT Pittsburgh and we're heading to Columbus, Ohio at CMH. I think it's about 120 nautical mile trip from this blue dot here to right about here. Today I'm going to do full checklist. We're going to use the X Plane stock Cessna 172. We're going to do full checklist. We're going to do a full run-up. We're going to try to work more towards being procedural and do things properly. Again, I'm not a pilot. I'm just a flight sim enthusiast, but I do want to try to get better at doing things correctly. So let's get on with it. All right, guys, as you can see, we're in cold and dark stock Cessna 172. This comes with X Plane, and I chose to use this plane because everybody has it. Not everybody spent $35 to get the Airfoil Labs, although I think it's on sale this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. If you want to check it out, you might save, I think, $10. But in any event, I decided to use this one because everybody has it. It's cold and dark. We're going to start from scratch. We're going to go through a checklist, and we will get things rolling here. So, again, we're going from Pittsburgh to Columbus, about 120 nautical miles. Take us about a little over an hour, maybe a little longer than that in this plane because we only can cruise at about 125. That's okay. I also like this plane more because it's got a 530 GPS versus the 430 that's in the Airfoil Labs. I really wish they'd put a 530 in there. Just the screen is bigger and you get the map and it's just easier for navigation. But in any event, let's get started here. So we're going to do a full pre-flight checklist and then we're going to do a run-up. So here we go. So we're going to do our flight checklist. Our windows and doors are closed. Okay, that's good. Parking brake, that's set. Seatbelt is fastened. Our flaps are up. You can look outside there. You can see the flaps are up. Okay, that's good. Throttle and mixture. Let's just make sure those are in sync. And they are. Okay, good. Fuel cutoffs are in. That's these red buttons there. We want to make sure that those are in. Okay, so we're not cutting off our fuel supply. Circuit breakers are all in. Flight controls are working. Let's just check our ailerons. Okay, they're working. And the rudders I have them tied to my yoke because I don't have my rudder. I did get my rudder pedals, but I haven't installed them yet. And I need to spend some time with them before I start flying with them. So I'm going to assume that the elevators are working because I really can't turn around and look at that. So all flight controls are working. Now let's get our master battery on. That's this right red switch here. Okay. And now we've got that on. We see some lights come on. Console, you can hear things start to wind up a little bit. Check the fuel. We've got the half tank, plenty of gas. You know what? Let's get a little bit more fuel. Why not? Better safe than sorry. Weights and balances. We'll go to, well, that's 4 hours of fuel. That should be fine. Okay. So we just added a little bit more fuel. Avionics on. Do that. Avionics are coming on, which is great. Everything looks like it's working fine. And our lights, get our lights on. We're at 6:30 at night here, so we're going to want our landing lights, taxi lights, nav lights, and our strobe. Everything on. Okay. And let's see, transponder is on. Annunciator is showing oil pressure and vacuum, but that's probably because we haven't started the plane yet. But if we do a test here and all the lights are working, which is good. Flaps, let's just check, make sure our flaps are working. I can hear them going down. Look over there, and they are going down, which is good. Set those back up. Flaps are good. Avionics off, because we don't want to put that on when we start the plane. Okay, fuel set to both, which it is, so we'll draw from both tanks. Now we're ready to prime the engine and clear prop and get it started. So I want to prime the engine for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Okay, look around. There's no one around us, so we'll clear prop. And as we start the engine, we're going to push the mixture in. So let's move this to start. And there we go. Running at idle. We're going to have to let this engine warm up a little bit. But we had a good start. Everything sounds good. Okay, now we can turn our alternator on. That's this left red button here. Okay, we can start to see the amps. Everything should start to come up here, and let's see, we're good to go there. After that, we can turn on our avionics. See, the GPS comes up. Everything starts to sync up. The gyros come on and everything. Good. All right, so that's looking good. We're going to have to let the plane warm up a little bit. We'll check our magnetos when we run up, just to make sure nothing's fouling. We're getting a volt light there, but I think that's because we're idling. Let's bring it up to 1,000 RPM to warm the engine up. Okay. All right, so now that we're set here, we can check our flight plan. So let's get into that now. Let's go to flight plan, and yeah, we'll just make sure this one's activated. The one we want. Get our cursor. And we're going KPIT KCMH. That's Columbus, Ohio. Enter. Boom. That's activated. We've got to pick it up here, I guess, once we take off, and then it'll activate. Should be good to go. It's 125 nautical miles, so that's good. Okay, what we want to do here though is we want to set our CDI to GPS, because we're going to use the autopilot. Let's just make sure autopilot's working. Autopilot comes on. You can see it. Come on, turn that off for now. Actually, we could leave it on. Okay, and we can see our lights out there, so we've got good vision. See, normally here we would set our frequencies, but we're not going to use any frequencies because we're not flying with ATC. That's the next step for me. Get into that with PilotEdge, one step at a time. But in any event, engine's coming up here, warming up. Looks like we've got everything in green. Let's set our clock to local time, 1832, so it's 6:30 p.m., 54 degrees Fahrenheit, and we are good to go. Panel lights are all the way up. Okay, good. Avionic lights are all the way up, and Austin Myers in the glove compartment. We don't need that right now. And we're good to go. Now, I was looking at this before, and it's got hours here. It says 20 hours, 0.4. I wonder if this actually moves now. I didn't think it did, but I'm going to keep an eye on that. Just remember, it's at 20.4 hours, and hopefully that does move. Anyway, so we're coming up. It looks like we're pretty warmed up here. All right, so right here we would request taxi to the runway, but we're not really talking to tower, so we're not going to do that. So I just released the brakes, and we started to move here. We're good to go. All right, we're going to run up right over here. Hold short, and I am using plane command, so we'll go to idle and we'll stop right here. I'll just say set brake. Set brake.
Brake set.
Okay, good. Now we can check our magnetos. Okay. So we want to go up to 1800 RPM. Check our oil pressure. Looks right in the green, which is good. Vacuum's in the green. Everything's looking good. Fuel flow's good. Cool. So now what we'll do is we'll check our right magneto by clicking over. We want to see about a 100 drop, no more. Okay, we dropped about 100. Actually, a little under 200 RPM. Back to both. Back up to 1800. And then we'll go one over to the left magneto, and that drops down a little bit there. That's good to go. Back to both. And we are, what else we have? The oil pressure. Make sure our oil pressure is okay again. It is. Fuel looks good. Everything looks good. We're good to go. All right, so we would request clearance here. KPIT to Columbus, Ohio, and let's roll up and take off. So that's not a completely formal checklist, but I'll get better at it. That's the first time really doing it. But I do want to get more official. thanks to Russ giving me a little bit of a lesson. Love the way those landing lights work there. There's runway 14. Get up, lined up on the center line, get our brakes set. Okay, we have clearance. We're all good. Everything's looking good. We're going to rotate at about 70 knots, 65, 70 knots, and try to keep a smooth climb up to 4,000 and then on our way to Columbus. And here we go. Rev up. Mixture in, throttle all the way in, release brake. Oh, P factor. Nasty P factor there. Okay, now we're getting better. That was nasty P factor there. Okay. 70 and rotate. Good. Yeah, the problem there is I did not set my trim to take off. I had autopilot on, which is I don't want to do. So that was a mistake. That was definitely a mistake. All right, so clear the runway. We're going to want to turn this way to pick up our GPS. I don't know why it works that way, but for some reason the 530, it's on the old leg coming here, and I've got to move this way to make that other line turn magenta so I can actually use it with the autopilot. We are making a nice turn here. KPIT, and we should pick this up. I'm actually gonna have to fly over the airport to pick it up. I don't know why that works that way, but it does. So picking it up right now, should be going. All right, now we picked up our GPS, so now we can hit autopilot, nav, and this plane will start to vector onto our way to Columbus, Ohio, 125 nautical miles. Just the way that GPS works, you gotta, for some reason, it doesn't, I don't know, you have to pick up where you are before it picks up the vector. But we're good to go now, so I want to get a little bit of altitude here. We're climbing. I guess I could use my vertical speed. Go to 5. And we'll let the plane just drive itself up to 4,000. Climbing at about 500 feet per minute, which is nice. Get ourselves up to 4,000. Look at that beautiful night sky here. All right, so there you go. Full checklist. That's the way to do it. Now, I'll get better and better at that as time goes on, but I thought you guys would appreciate that if you kind of did things the right way. I guess I don't need my landing lights on anymore, so get those off. Remember to turn those on when we land in Columbus, about an hour from now. Everything's looking good, speed good. Right on target here for our GPS. And we're looking good. Cabin lights just came on. Automatically. Beautiful pinkish sunset sky out there. Just letting the plane do its thing. I should say the autopilot. And once we get to 4,000, I'll just lock the altimeter right in there. Now I can use plane command to do that, but I just haven't really worked on that yet. So getting used to plane command and using those voice commands to help me with VR flying. It's definitely a nice feature to have. So. Yeah, so during the flight list, you probably saw me like moving my hands. I have to look at the checklist while I'm doing it. I don't have it memorized yet, so I have to like take my headset off and look at the checklist. FlyInside does have a thing called virtual windows, but it doesn't always work right. For me, it kind of hoses up XPlane, so I really can't. I'd love to be able to use that, but I just haven't been able to use that effectively. So. Anyway, we're coming up to 4,000, and we're going to lock in our altimeter right there. Boom. And we are good to go. Checking out the evening scenery, crossing into Ohio from Pennsylvania. Looking good. Let's see where we are on the map. Alright, so we've got 116 left to go, 55 nautical miles. A couple things I wanted to talk about, as I usually do on these flights. First, I don't know if you guys checked out the live stream from X Plane the other night. It was Austin Meyer was on there along with that, I forget the guy's name, it's Mike Brown, who also works for X Plane. They were talking X Plane 11 and some pretty cool topics. They're going to be at Flight SimCon in 2 weeks. And so a couple things they were talking about. Let's see. They were talking about the 0.02 release, which is in beta right now. And they said that release is all about optimizing frame rates. That's the major point of that release. That's why you're probably seeing on social media and in some of the forums, people talking about getting better frame rates with that release. So that's really good. I am not using it yet. I tend not to use beta releases because, I'm making videos and stuff and I don't want them to fail. I tend to wait for its software to be GA before I give it a go. So in any event, I'm looking forward to that being GA so I can see what the frame rates are. You can see right now I'm getting 31 frames in X Plane, 32, which is acceptable. Anything in the 30s to me is acceptable. 40s would be better, but anything in the 30s is acceptable. So it's good to hear that they have people, I think it's 2 people, that are specifically dedicated to improving optimization, taking advantage of the higher end GPUs like the 1080 Ti that I have to be able to just improve the experience in X Plane. So very happy to hear that that's the focus. Also, they're talking about, Austin talked about a new ATC implementation. They're looking at how to do that to make it more effective. You might want to go back and look on their Facebook page to watch the stream. You can see exactly what he talked about, but that was something that a lot of people seems to be very excited about. They also talked about VR. Now, he hinted and pretty much said that they're going to be demonstrating inherent VR for X Plane 11 at Flight SimCon on Oculus Rift is what I heard. That's really good news. I love FlyInside. It's really helped. It works well, but inherent VR is always going to be a great thing to have. So looking forward to see the feedback. I wish I could go to Flight SimCon. I actually don't live that far from where it is. I'm probably about maybe 170 miles away, but I just can't get there. I've got other obligations. But I'm anxious to hear what the feedback is from their inherent VR support. I know for sure that they have one person specifically only working on VR, and pretty sure that the GA for that is, really kind of months away rather than weeks away. So I guess they want to just give a little bit of sneak peek at Flight SimCon, which is great. Having inherent VR is a good thing. But there's some things that I hope that they have in inherent VR. Like one, I hope they're able to provide in-cockpit windows, like have a virtual window so I could pull up a checklist or whatever while you're in VR. The other thing is to have mirroring so you can record 2D while you're flying in 3D. Hope they have those capabilities. It's kind of a selfish thing as a video producer and streamer. You need that mirroring to be able to show people watching in 2D what you're doing. So, Aerofly has it, FlyInside has it. So I'm hoping that they build that into the inherent version. The other thing that they're looking at is VR walk around and in-cabin maps. They did say that. So you'd be able to walk around the plane in VR, which is very cool. So you could do a flight inspection in VR, that would be very, very cool to be able to do. So that's cool. And then they did say in-cabin maps, so you would have some mapping capability inside. Be able to bring up a map inside the VR cabin, which is pretty much a necessity as well. So, and then there was a lot of talk about different types of jets, like the Airbus was a big discussion. A lot of people want the Airbus. They talked about some other planes that they might be working on. He actually showed a demo of I guess it's an alpha of the new ATC system, and how you'd be able to see where flights are. And I think Austin's dream is to have not only view from the cockpit, but also to be able to have an ATC tower view. So if you wanted to do that, so I'm not sure where that is, but they did talk about that. But again, go to their Facebook page, Laminar Research's Facebook page, and if you're interested, you can watch the whole live stream, and I think you'll get a lot out of it if you're an X-Plane user like me. So, all right, so that was the live stream. Now I wanted to talk about the flight sim rigs. Now someone had asked me if I'd put together a video on how to build or what you would need for a virtual reality flight simulation rig. I could certainly do that. I have a video on my channel already on how I built the PC that I have, which I basically consider a flight sim rig. Now, when I first built the PC, I built it for a 1080, but I bought a 1070, but I ended up upgrading to a 1080 Ti recently. So, you could probably take that video, and that's basically a VR flight sim PC type arrangement. It's a i7-6700 or better CPU. It's 16 gigs of RAM, SSD for the boot drive at least. Now for X-Plane, you really don't need SSD for playing the game because all the scenery is loaded into RAM. But SSDs I think are always cool to have because your load times are less. But the key thing is the graphics card and a good motherboard that would allow you to have faster communication between CPU and GPU. You want to make sure you have a latest and greatest motherboard. But the GPU is very important, especially for VR. If you're beyond X-Plane 11, you want to be able to, if you're doing other games like Super Hot or Robo Recall or some of the other VR, high-intensive AAA VR games, you really want a powerful GPU. And anything 1070 or above, I think, is going to get you a good experience. If you can afford a 1080 Ti, I would highly recommend getting that. But as far as like the 1050 and the 1060, recognize that if you're buying a 1050 or a 1060, you are getting an entry-level GPU for VR. And you have to expect entry-level performance. That means on some games, it might be sluggish. Racing games like Project Cars that require really fast frame rates, you're going to have some issues. Flight simulators like X Plane 11 and FSW and FSX, if you're running a 1060 or 1050, you might have some frame issues. Okay, so bear in mind that even though Oculus and Vive set their minimums, I think they're saying now their minimum spec is a 1050. Minimum is not always the best solution. Okay, some people want to get into it. They can only afford the minimum, and that's fine. Maybe someday down the road you can upgrade, but that's fine. But you have to expect that if you're going with min spec, that you're going to experience min performance. Okay, that's pretty much the way I see it. So, but I may do a video specifically on a VR flight sim rig because that PC video that I did is more for gaming. But I may do that, because you want things like your yoke and rudder pedals and enough USB 3 ports or USB 2 ports to be able to support everything. So there are some considerations that you would have for setting up a VR flight sim rig. So I've got that on the to-do list, and hopefully we'll get into that. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was my flight sim use, casual versus formal, if you will. So you can see when I started this experience, I'm trying to do a more formal approach, starting with checklists, making sure that the plane is ready to fly. Now, this particular plane doesn't really have many failures, I don't believe. So I have failures. You can turn the failures off, but it's always good. I think it's good to practice, to learn how to do proper procedures so that you're making sure you have a safe aircraft to aviate with, right? So you're going to see me get more and more formal with my approach. Up to now, I've been pretty much casual about the flying. I've been flight simming for a long time, and there was actually a time back when I was using one of the older sims where I was getting into radio navigation and all that. I kind of learned about that, but I just haven't, used it so far. And now with GPS, it's so much easier to use GPS that I kind of rely on that. But my goal is to learn proper procedure, get involved with PilotEdge, start to do PilotEdge flights, VFR flights, VFR following kind of flights, and then work my way into instruments. But in any event, because that's the goal, I want to be able to use my flight simulation system to its fullest, to be able to help me learn how to be more of a better virtual pilot, so that if I ever decide to actually fly IRL, I'll be more equipped to do that. Obviously real life is very different than flying in a simulator, but I think that it would, this experience is going to help me prepare for that. And that's the way I'm kind of looking at it. And that's why I want to become more formal. And, I'm looking for you guys. I know there's a lot of people like me that watch my videos that are, quote unquote noobish. I don't consider myself a complete noob, but I'm certainly a noob to formal flying. And, we're looking to learn. So, and I'm hoping that some people that are more accomplished with their aviation will watch and help critique what I'm doing in a positive way and help me become a better pilot. And in the meantime, everybody learns something. Because if I get a feedback in a comment like the one I got from Russ last week, where he said that I should be using checklists more, to set a good example, and he was absolutely right. And I implemented that, and I'm going to continue to implement that. And if you guys got good suggestions, I'm all open to listening to those so that I could improve the way I'm flying and what I'm broadcasting as well. So that's my goal. Again, any suggestions, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing. If you're using flight simulation in a similar way that I am to prepare yourself for someday flying in real life. I think the flight sim community, you're always going to have casual flyers, which is fine. You see a lot of people on Twitch most people on Twitch are flying the big airliners, and most of those people will never fly a big airliner. They just dig the procedure and the process and working with the flight computer and all that. And I totally get that, and that's fine. I think for me, that novelty would wear off quickly, and it's more about the realism of getting from point A to point B in a safe manner for myself and other people that are flying in the airspace that I'm flying in. So learning that, getting to that, becoming better at that is, to me, what the goal is and what the challenge is, and what makes flight simming today really cool. Especially the fact that I could sit here in a virtual cockpit of a Cessna 172 looking out over the evening sky of the state of Ohio, seeing the lights, and to me it looks very, very real, right? I want to share that with everybody else. I've gotten some great comments from people that are actually looking to getting into VR flying, and I promise you, once you try it, you're going to be amazed, and it's only going to get better. Right now, the headsets are a bit limited as far as their display capability, right? You have a little bit over 1080p. I think it's, what is it, 1280 or 1230 p that you get in a headset in each eye. Someday, probably in about 18 to 24 months, we're going to have 4K displays in headsets, or close to it. And when we have that, everything's going to look that much better. Okay. Now we're probably going to need faster GPUs for that. Maybe at that time a 1080 Ti will be where a 1070 is now. But someday it's going to happen, and that's going to even make the experience even better. You know, I think using VR flight sim can really help improve your approach to flying in the real world, and that's what I'm using it for. So that's my spiel on formal versus casual. Now the other thing, I'm doing this 10-leg journey, and during this 10-leg journey to LAX, I'm learning about systems and trying to do things more formal. And what I'm thinking is, once I get to LAX, I'm in California, which means I'm in the land of where PilotEdge has coverage. And I think by that time, I'm hoping that I have enough knowledge to be able to start to dip my toe into using PilotEdge. Those of you that don't know PilotEdge, they are a simulated air traffic control system for the Southern California area, also going into Colorado, some other areas in the west there. They have a couple of different plans. You can sign up for it. I think they have a 7-day free trial. But you can sign up for it and go into that airspace and basically aviate in like a real world realism type environment, where you've got to talk to air traffic control, you got to talk to ground control, you got to get clearance, you have to file flight plans, you have to fly in a professional and quote unquote legal manner within their system. The air traffic controllers take it very seriously. You know, for those of you that don't know what PilotEdge is all about, you might want to check it out. And it's a great way to take the next leap into virtual aviation. I think I'm going to use this plane to start when I get it going to PilotEdge. Once I know this plane really well and know the systems, then I'm going to, and I get better at getting over the hurdle of communicating with ATC, because it's a different language. You need to know what to say. Learning how to do things properly. You need to learn how to communicate properly with ATC, say the right thing, and they help you along. And there's like a training program and stuff. But I plan to go through that, and I plan to become a proficient PilotEdge pilot. And what I want to do is I want to document that on YouTube. So the plan is, once I'm finished with my 10-leg trip, then I'm going to start moving towards doing a PilotEdge series. So in any event, we've got about 68 nautical miles left to go, about a half hour. So maybe I'll shut up now, and we'll just take in some of the sights. All right, so we're about 30 nautical miles outside of Port Columbus Airport, which is actually John Glenn International Airport in Columbus, KCMH. And I had to restart X Plane because I had some issues, but in any event, we picked up, and we're about 13 minutes by the clock at our current speed, but we're going to start to slow down. I want to get weather, so I've got 124.6.
Columbus INTL information Bravo. Zulu weather. Wind calm, visibility more than 10. Sky clear, temperature 13, dew point -19. Altimeter 2992. Arriving runways 28 left, 28 right. Departing runways 28 left, 28 right. Advise on initial contact, you have Bravo.
Okay, we have Bravo. So 28 left, 28 right. We'll go left. Now the runways run east and west, so we should run right into them. So it shouldn't be hard to line up. Normally I would contact the tower here, request clearance to land. I'd have a flight plan filed, etc. But we're not doing ATC, so I can pretty much see what looks like to be an airport right up at my 12 o'clock. I'm not sure if that's 27 nautical miles. It might not be. I'm looking into the night sky here. Now, you guys don't see the sky as bright as I do, or I should say the lighting down there on planet Earth as well as I do. But fortunately, it doesn't translate well into YouTube. But it looks great to me, and I can see the lights coming into the Columbus, Ohio area. So we're still at about 4,000 feet. I think what I'm going to try to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself down on we're going to bring ourselves down here. Oops, I don't want to zoom in that much. We're going to bring it down to down to 2,500. Let's let the autopilot take us down at about 500 feet per minute, and we'll be set up for, now if that is our runway, it doesn't quite look east and west, but maybe actually it looks like that might be our airport right there. So 24 nautical miles out, got our weather, it's clear, no wind, absolutely perfect. That's because I don't have any weather on. Someday, that's the other thing I'm going to be adding. I will be adding weather. Now, I heard that X-Plane's weather model isn't that great, and there's SkyMax or some other ones that I could look at. So, but I will be adding that into the mix at some point to make that more realistic. But yeah, what happened before, like my camera that watches my yoke shut down or something, I had a power surge in my house, so that caused problems. So I had to kind of like restart everything. Yeah, so looking forward to touching down in Columbus, Ohio, and getting on to our next trip. Let's see where our next trip's going to be. I can't remember. All right, so the next trip's going to be Indianapolis. Looking forward to that. So let's see. Do we bring us? We're going down to 2,500. Let's set our clock to local time. 1937. Kind of dark for 7 o'clock in the evening. Although that's our local time. So. Yeah, I think I'm picking up the runway up there. Let me see if I can zoom into that so you can see it. See it right there. There's our two runways. Yeah, we're not quite, they're not quite east and west, so we're going to have to turn about 20 degrees left and line up. We'll go with the right runway. You guys see that? You can see the directionals into the runway there. Anyway, couldn't really hear that too well. Let's see if that's better.
Port Columbus INTL information Bravo. 000 Zulu weather. Wind calm, visibility more than 10. Sky clear, temperature 13, dew point -19. Altimeter 2992. Arriving runways 28 left, 28 right. Departing runways 28 left, 28 right. Advise on initial contact, you have Bravo.
All right, 28 right we're going to go to. All right, so let's take it off autopilot. And we have the plane. All right, so our pre-flight checklist, we are about 14 nautical miles out.
Port Columbus INTL.
Don't need you anymore,
Bravo.
buddy.
0.
Okay, we're going to make sure our gas is on both, which it is. I got plenty of gas. Undercarriage, don't have to worry about. Mixture is in, and prop is maxed. So we're good to go. We're going to hit the right runway. Get ourselves lined up here. See our runway right there, airport's in sight. Getting ourselves lined up. It's got about 11 miles out. First time doing a night flight in the cross-country trip. Everything's looking good, fuel's good, amp's good, vac's good, oil pressure's good, temperature's good, tanks are good. Everything's looking okay. Landing lights are on, beacons on, taxi on. All the lights are on. One nice thing about flying in VR is you actually have a sense of height. So I mean, obviously it's important to know the elevation of the runway that you're landing on, but you can actually eyeball it because you have a sense of depth and height, which is pretty cool. So, all right, so looks like we're getting lined up nicely here. Probably about a mile more and we'll be able to turn right into our final. I'll start to slow the plane down. We're still about 8 miles out. But I can see the runway right there. Is it 28 right? We're going to be landing. And we can start to turn in pretty soon here. Can you guys see that? See if I can zoom in there. You can see there's the airport right there. See it? And our runway is the right one. There we go. All right, let's get our flaps down. Start to slow the plane down. We're still at 36, so we're gonna have to come down a little bit here. I have a good sense of what the elevation is just because VR allows me to have that depth perception, so which is pretty damn cool. All right, we are on final. Columbus Tower requesting final approach runway 28 right. I think it was 28 right. Assume that we got clearance. Flaps to 25. Is it 25? Starting to slow the plane down now. Definitely the smaller runway, probably for general aviation. And we're coming in nicely. Still going down at a rate of just about 500 feet per minute. But I could see this. The cars, the ground lights are getting closer, so that's good. Aiming for the edge of that runway. Night landings are cool in X Plane. Give you a zoom here. There we are, right there. See it right there? Yeah, they would. The tower would have probably put me on, or approach would have put me on runway, the right runway anyway. It's smaller for general aviation. I don't need that much real estate to land. Shouldn't need it. All right, full flaps now. And we're flying at about 80, keep it at about 80, 90 knots. Made really good time. Although I had to stop, so it turns out to be about 1 hour and 10, I think. That's definitely the smallest leg of the trip. This is why I wanted to use the Cessna for this one, the 172. Got to fly over a little roadway here. See that right down there, all lit up. Got good line up on the runway. Evening traffic in Columbus. And after this, we're going to be heading to Indianapolis. KIND. That'll be leg 4. Let's get this one done. This leg done safely. All right, we need to get down a little bit more here. Nice airport all lit up for us to come in, and safe landing on runway, is it 28 right? I believe it's 28 right. All right. Definitely lined up. You can see our lights starting to hit the ground there. Nice. Got a really bright spotlight. There's the piano keys. Okay, throttle down, flare it up. Nice and easy, set her down to earth. Very nice. Flaps up. Okay. Slow her up. Take the first taxi to the right, I guess. I can go to the right. Probably general aviation to the right, so that's where we'll go. I have no idea where we're going in this airport. That's the other thing that I would have checked out before, but this looks like general aviation here. Go to places I need to stop, turn it around. Oh, we can go over here. Oh, no, we can't. Oh. Take a look out of Columbus and... All right. Set parking brake?
Brakes set.
Okay. Nice flight, huh? All right, let's shut this thing down now. So we get our strobes off, navs off, taxi off, avionics off. Okay. That was a cool flight. And again, more formal. And that's what we're going to be doing from now on. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this flight from Pittsburgh to Columbus, Ohio. Next time we'll be going leg 4 to Indianapolis. It's a little bit of a longer trip. Probably using a twin engine plane for that one. But to hit the like button if you like what you saw today. Don't forget to subscribe to Bambino Games for more X Plane 11 flight simulation in VR. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day. Cold and dark.